Hello everyone, welcome back to another tactic test. So today we have a tactic that was requested by a viewer, so I'm going to have that pop up now so you guys can see what he was asking. But this one I took and really liked making and really enjoyed, so if you guys have more tactic requests you can get videos made about them and you can see how they do. But this one is about looking at creating a really elite level 10. So my goal of the tactic was to make one that had a 10 receive 10 plus goals and 10 plus assists for the season. So he's kind of be the focal point of the tactic, trying to get goals and assists, really being that star player, somewhat like Ozil was, not always the assisting, but I kind of wanted to make him the star of the show, and I feel that now players are a little more like running around, scoring a lot more and doing a lot more, and I thought about players like Ilias Chair, a little bit, and Musiala, people like that. So I wanted to make a tactic that really kind of worked in the mold of those players, and along those lines. So I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope you guys are excited to see what we have for you. Okay guys, so here is our tactics board, and here is the tactic we have. It is a 4-2-3-1, as was mentioned before. But this is going to focus on making sure we have our 10 be the key in this tactic. So to do that, I want to create a system that creates people around him that are making actions and are trying to score and trying to do things. So to do that, I felt that we needed to have players that are making second and third man runs that really help give him the ability to play and pass the ball around. And I also wanted to create a system that benefited him in creating a group of players that could help recycle the ball and get it back to him. So to do this, in essence, I've created a decently possession-based system, but doesn't need to be totally possession-based, but it funnels the ball through certain areas. So to start, what we have is, when we have the ball, what I want us to look to do is, when you have it here, we're going to get it out to the center backs, right? They're both going to be ball-playing center backs. They get it to the wing backs. So it's going to get out to one of the wing backs. One of these the wing backs themselves are on support, so they're going to be supporting players that are going to look to help us get the ball forwards. The players in front of them are going to be inside forwards. They're going to be playing narrow, looking to get forwards and attack more often. We're going to have a player that's an anchor that's going to sit and anchor the field, and we have an 8 that's going to run forwards to help kind of create this shape here. So when we get the ball, we're going to almost become like this. This is kind of going to be our shape. So the players are going to move forwards like this. They're going to be these areas. So these are kind of the shapes that we have created. Now, the thing that it's going to do is that it's going to be obviously a little interesting with this shape being the way it is. But, oops, sorry, I need to draw the lines. So it's going to be interesting because we're going to have some larger distances in these areas here, as you guys can see. Sorry, I just need to draw the line so you can see what I mean. So we'll have some larger distances here. But this is in essence what I'm looking for, is to kind of create these two groups. Almost. So you can see this is kind of the shape that we're looking for. So when we get the ball and we're looking to come out, we're going to have it like this. This is going to be our anchor, the guy that's going to be defensive cover. We have these players here who are ball-playing defenders, and we have a goalkeeper who's going to be assisting in possession as well. So I want to get it wide. So the second we get it, we're going to play down the flanks, because I want to get the ball into these guys first. So we go wide. Then, once they get it, they'll have options to go here, or obviously the long ball over the top like that. That's obviously going to be more like last resort, playing this pass here, but we don't really need to worry too much about it because that is not the ball that we're really going to encourage, like one into this space here, because in the tactic we are having our players much shorter passing, so it's going to be a lot smaller, a lot shorter. We're not going to worry about it as much. So because of that, we're going to look to have these passes here. Now this is going to be the issue of just getting it here, but if we can get through this system, then we can get into these guys and they can kind of just pass it around the group of them, and they can keep moving the ball forwards. So that's going to be the real important thing, is once we got to get it wide and then get it into this group, and once we have it into this front group here, it's over. It's over for the other team. We're going to smash them. So with that being said, when we get into the final third, we're going to probably set up like this. Our guy's going to be here. We're going to have our 8 close by. Wingbacks kind of hovering in these areas. These players here, the anchor. Oops. The anchor is going to be kind of anchored in here. We're going to have our players like this, and then hopefully him here. So this is kind of going to be the shape I want to see when we're in the final third. So this is mainly what I want to have. Because if you see what I'm talking about, here we have we have support in different areas. So we have this here, which is the shape that I'm drawing, so you guys can, oops. So you guys can see, that line is a little messy. But so it's this shape here is what I'm talking, this is what I want to create here. So it's almost like a funnel, in essence, stopping, oops. It's almost a system that's kind of funneling the ball into these areas here. Because we're kind of creating like a U shape almost, kind of like an umbrella, trapping these guys in. So creating kind of like a big circle here, pretty much, where this is our area, this is ours. So like this is the area we want to keep the ball in here, and these guys are going to be able to step out and press here. They can cover these areas, they can chill like this. So the goal is to create kind of a funnel to make the ball stay here. So then these guys can make the runs, move in their directions, he can move around. This guy can make his runs forwards, he can move into these areas, go however he wants, and then our 10 here is able to pick and choose what he wants to do. So he can shoot, he can play it into other people, and he's just kind of gotten that free roam area. Because he's on free roam, he can move wherever he wants in these spots, move around, pick up a spot here, go wherever. The inside forwards are obviously going to come inside, they're going to look to shoot, look to score. This guy's going to look to shoot, look to score. And this guy's also going to come in and make more runs as well. So that's kind of the goal of this, is that we have these 4 players making off-the-ball movements, making off-the-ball runs, and we have the 10 with them in this area trapping everything in. Because if we lose the ball, guess what? Ball gets taken, it goes a bad pass out wide, the player picks it off, 3 steps, wins it back, boom, back to the 10, he can do more stuff. 10 gets picked off, 6 steps, wins it, back to the 10, boom, we can do more stuff. Ball out wide, same thing here. So it's just going to be this thing of, we create this system of players around to help funnel it back to him. He then can do what he wants, play it into these people here, and really help us continue this attack, continue playing high, and be super, super aggressive with it. So with that also, if we do lose the ball and it's that, we want them to kick it long so we can get back into this shape as well. We don't want them to play out it. We don't want them to be able to play short out of the back, because then they might be able to get and pick us through the line, since our center mid in the 8 will sit deeper, but when we're in these areas, he's higher up and more advanced. So that's a little bit of how we want to do things, how we want to attack, how we kind of want to defend in those areas, and that's pretty much what we're looking to do. So now we'll get into it a little bit more, looking at the team itself, the players, and how those guys did in the system. Things worked decently well. I didn't get the exact result that I wanted it to, but it still worked quite well in what I was looking for. It just ended up being that someone else was kind of the star of the show. But with everything worked, Bayern still won the league, which is great to see. Hoffenheim finished second, which is crazy to me. But they still won. In terms of competitions, they won the Super Cup. They got knocked out in the semifinals by Hamburg and knocked out in the quarterfinals by PSG. We look at results. There's been an amazing stretch to start the season where they were hammering teams. Leipzig, Sociedad, Karlsruhe, Leipzig again, Inter, Braga, Darmstadt, Augsburg 7-2. They lost to Dortmund, but they scored tons of goals. They lost to Sociedad, but hammered Union, beat Stuttgart pretty badly. Bremen as well. They were smashing teams. Bochum. They drew with Milan 0-0. Managed to knock them out. Beat Mainz 7-0. Leipzig again 4-0. The system destroys Leipzig. Köln 5-1. They lost to Union here. Beat Stuttgart. Lost to Dortmund again, which is kind of unfortunate. They did draw Darmstadt, which is pretty surprising. But they weren't able to deal with PSV or deal with Hamburg at the time, which kind of sucks. But I still think it was really successful so far in terms of what they did. If we look at the squad and look at some of the players, actually we don't need Sane. The players with the most assists, we can see where is he? Musiala only had 5. So Kimmich had the most assists, which is interesting because he was playing in the Volante role a lot, and he ended up getting more than others, which is kind of surprising. I wasn't expecting that. But, where is he? Musiala. I cannot find the name. But Musiala still almost did what I wanted to, which was I wanted to see him... I wanted to have him get 20 with 10 and 10 each. He didn't totally achieve that, and I thought he'd be better than most in doing this role, but unfortunately it didn't really seem to work that way. He got the goals that I was looking for, but not the assists, so it was kind of unfortunate it didn't work out. Though it did benefit that I did see there was some assistance from another player in terms of like Kimmich, who played that deeper role, had 17 assists from that deeper role, which is really nice to see as he played the Volante a lot. So it's good because it shows that those extra runners and separate players are making a big difference and doing a lot, because that's what we're looking for. But it's a little unfortunate it didn't work in the way I totally wanted to, which kind of is annoying, but again, it's how it can happen. Now, if we do look, though, the team absolutely smashed it. Nearly an 80 XG, 97 goals. Should have finished first already. Crosses, super accurate, which is great to see. Lots of passes, lots of accurate passing. Really good reliability in dribbles. The air is okay. We look at the attack. Again, we're losing the ball in those areas here mainly, so we're going to be able, that funnel's going to work really well. Lots of shots, lots of high-quality shots, high scoring, very high non-expected goals, strong defending from it, and very aggressive shooting with clinical shooting as well. So things are really good. You look at this team attacking graph here, really strong in all of these areas, winning a lot of fouls, pass completion were good, cross completion were really good, a lot of dribbles, shots on target ratio, not the greatest compared to others, but loads of shots a game we get, take tons, high non-expected goals, high goals per game. So really well done in terms of all those stats that we're looking for and what we want to see, which is great because it's creating those opportunities, the ball staying in this high area here. I'm sure it doesn't show possession one, but it's showing where we're losing the ball. It's in those areas there where that funnel's going to keep it in those spots as well. Now on to the next team in Real Betis. Betis finished second. How amazing is that? So they absolutely smashed it with this. Their star man in assist was Isco, which is what I was looking for. So he got 20 plus goal contributions, which is he hit the mark and what I wanted. He got 14 assists, which was great from that 10 position, which I was hoping for him to get. Over a 10 XG, which is brilliant, which is also what we were hoping for as well. So he really fit the role well. He did great. Fantastic for what we were hoping for. Fantastic for what we were looking for. We can look at that. I mean, 44 passes per 90, really high amount. 107 key passes, 2.37 key passes per 90 as well. So creating loads of chances, 1.4 in the open. So he did really, really well in this role, really excelling, getting a lot of assists, doing great in that scenario, and really helping the team out, which is lovely to see. Now we can look at a little overview of just some of the other players, like Borja Iglesias, most goal scorer, so the guy up top. They had the second best defense, so you can really see how well it worked defensively for this team, really creating that platform to allow him to do stuff. They didn't score as many as others, but again, when you look here, lots of passing, lots of accurate passing. They didn't cross as much, which is a little annoying, but it's all right. But here, lots of dribbles, like really, really well, really reliable, again, in dribbling, which seems to be a bit of a key for these tactics that I'm making recently, which might also be a big thing in FM this year, is that dribbling is really important. On top of that, we can see that we had nearly 1.8 XG per game. Maybe not the best in terms of we finished a bit above where we should, but still really, really good. We look at the attacking, again, losing the ball mainly in these areas. Super high non-expected goals, non-penalty expected goals, really aggressive shooting, high scoring, aggressive shooting, high quality. So you can see, again, it's a lot of the same things. All these teams are doing them really, really well. They're hitting the marks in those areas. And it's a pretty quiet defense and an impenetrable defense, which is great to see. Like, let's even look at here. We can see how well it worked. Like barely any clearances per game. We barely have to make any fouls. Barely have to make any fouls per game. Blocks, very little. Interceptions, not too many. Decent amount of tackles. Like really low expected. We have low expected goals. We concede a little amount per game. So really, really well done in terms of defense. That funnel working really, really well to stop teams from being able to attacking us and getting back at us in transition, which is making a really, really big difference. Finally, though, just looking at some results. The team itself finished second. They were knocked out in the fourth round by Elche and knocked out in the playoffs by Dortmund, which is pretty funny. Right? That's Dortmund. They're going crazy. Yeah, it is Dortmund. So the tactic... so not this tactic, but they were knocked out by a fellow German side. But if we look here at some results, they had a really great start of the season, defensively exceptional. Did lose to Roma in that stretch, beat Sevilla and Bilbao. Lose to Valencia. They 0-0 with Real Madrid, which is really big. 1-0 loss to Barca only. Beat Atleti 2-0. Again, beat Sociedad. Did lose to Sevilla in the end. Only 1-0 losses to Dortmund. They beat Madrid here. They lost to Barca again, but they beat Real. which is really big. They beat Atleti again. So they definitely could beat some big teams and did really, really well against them. So the tactic works quite well with some of these stronger sides. I wouldn't say the best sides, but seems to be working really well with kind of, well, again, Bayern did win a lot, so there's that too. But it seems to be great in terms of that defensive platform to attack and do stuff from is really, really important. Now, QPR. QPR are expected to finish 22nd in the championship, and they came 9th, which is massive. Batiste went from 8th to 2nd, a little more feasible. But from 22nd to 9th is pretty impressive, in my opinion. So I'm really impressed by that one. If we look, Ilias Chair had the most assists with 15. So he had 15 assists all year. He had 10 goals, 15 assists. He excelled. I thought about him in my mind when I made this tactic, and he was perfect for this tactic and did exactly what I was looking for. We look again, no real defensive contribution. That's okay. That's not the goal of these players in this. It's to be really good at attacking and really good in possession, and he did that to a T. So I'm very, very happy about that. Made a really big difference there, and I couldn't be happier. If we do look at it, 9th best, 7th best, so they scored a lot of goals, and they were very good defensively as well. Really good platform for it. They kind of hovered around mid-table, which is fine, especially with a team that's not totally suited to be playing this style. Is really, really good. So it's nice to see. We look at the schedule here, some big wins maybe. They managed to beat Blackburn in the FA Cup, which is really big. They hammered Preston North End 5-0. They're able to take out Wimbledon, Wickham, which are expected. They beat Ipswich. They hammered Wimbledon. They beat Watford, which is a pretty good one. Middlesbrough draw, beat Sunderland, which is a very good one. Couldn't do too much, some of the bigger hitters. Beat West Brom and Coventry, which is very solid there. Stoke, not as much. Millwall, which is London derby, so we'll take it. Draw with Southampton, though, which is nice. Destroyed Watford, which is really big. Beat Millwall. Did lose to United 3-1, but that's not too terrible. Norwich 2-1 win, which is really impressive. I have to say that's a really impressive one. Beat West Brom, Middlesbrough, Sunderland, Birmingham, a really good stretch. Beat Wednesday. Didn't beat Plymouth, which is kind of unfortunate probably, but beat Leeds as well. So you can see there was definitely a good stretch defensively for these guys where it can make a big difference in the way they've played and what they've done. So some good stuff there for sure. I mean, we look at this, it's where a few dribbles frequently fouled. They didn't take too many dribbles on, which is not great, but they did get a lot of fouls per game, which is good. Just didn't do as many dribbles, but they still won a lot of set pieces. Passing, again, lots of passes, accurate passing, which is really good. We want to make sure we're doing that to keep be able to play going. They actually finished below what they were expected to. They were expected to finish much higher in 7th, but weren't actually able to. So you can see the team underperformed even in this tactic, which is big because it means they should be doing a lot better. Aerially, that's all right, but we go to here. Again, look where the ball is being lost in these areas here. That funnel is going to work really, really well to win it back and keep it going. We look at this, high-scoring clinical shooting, high-scoring impenetrable defense, aggressive shooting, clinical shooting. Again, in these areas. Obviously, a little more central because of this team not being as high quality as some of the other ones we've used in this tactic. But you can see, though, a team that really should be down in the relegation zone has a playstyle that's a lot more defensive, a lot different, really are able to do quite well even with this high possession, high level tactic. Not much in terms of, again, look at this. Very few fouls, very few clearances, very few blocks. They're winning the ball high up. They're forcing turnovers high up the pitch, which really lets them be able to have a great platform to build off of and attack from in a higher area. So I think it's really excelled. It's done fantastic. So let's take Chair out. Let's go through the instructions. So it is a 4-2-3-1 setup using 2 defensive midfielders with a custom tactical style, which is a create your own clean slate. We have a positive mentality, and we have a sweeper keeper on support in goal with no additional instruction. We have a wingback with take fewer risks, cross lefts often, which is to encourage them to pass it inside more and give it off to another player so that we can get it back to our 10. Sit narrower and tackle harder. Again, we want to create that funnel, so we want to tuck them in more to help create the funnel. We don't want to leave too many gaps in that shape. We have a ball-playing defender on stopper, just so he's more willing to step a little higher up, just because the anchor is on the left side, just to help deal with the little easier bits of the stepping there that he can do. He's on dribble less and tackle harder. Same with our other defender here, who's on dribble less and tackle harder. But do remember, this guy is on stopper, and he is on normal, so just be cognizant of that one. The other wingback is the same as the one on the right, which is sit narrower, tackle harder. Again, that thing we don't want them to cross. We want them to pass it shorter. We want them to retain possession a lot more. We have an anchor on tackle harder and mark tighter, just to be more aggressive when that time comes for them to be that guy winning the ball in the middle, getting it back and restarting things. We want them to be closer to those 10s, those players that they're going to be looking over and marking, and winning the ball back by being aggressive. Our volante, take fewer risks. Again, we want him to pass it shorter, get into that 10, move into the channel, so he's moving into these areas here, making those second or third man's runs into the open spaces, and then being aggressive. Being aggressive when he can to win the ball back as well. The inside forwards here on the right, shoot more often, sit narrower, tackle harder. Again, we want them more narrow, so there's shorter passing distances for our advanced playmaker. The one on the left is the same exact as the one on the right, so shoot more, sit narrower, and tackle harder. Our advanced forward is on take fewer risks, shoot more often, and tackle harder. Again, we want them to retain possession, get it into that 10, so we want them to not risk it, just go short passes, quick passes into that 10 to keep the ball moving. Finally, our 10 is an advanced playmaker on dribble less and move into channels. We want him to move around. I found free roam meant that he wasn't in the right position to get the amount of assists he wanted to. So I felt that moving to channels worked better, and dribble less will encourage him to get the ball and pass more often, give a little flicks here and there, pass the ball off, be a lot better in possession and really give it around and spread the ball to get more of those assists. Now, in terms of the team width, in possession, we are fairly wide. We are going to focus play down the left and down the right so we can get it to those, start off that shape with the wing backs. We have a much shorter passing directness. We have a much higher tempo. We have low crosses. We work the ball into the box. Now, in terms of in transition, we counter press and we counter. We slow the pace down when we have it. We distribute the ball to the center backs and we roll it out. When in out of possession shape, we are higher press, much higher. Again, we want to make sure that shape is really pushing on. That funnel is real high and set up to win that ball back and keep them in that area there. We have much more often trigger press. We prevent short distribution. We don't want them playing short because we're going to have a little more spaces. We want to force it long, where our defenders and our defensive mids and our anchor and center backs can win it, then spray it forwards again. And we want to step up more so we can be that aggressive press once we lose it, to make sure that funnel forces the ball backwards and back into the players that we want to have the ball as well. So that is the tactic. I hope you guys are excited to try it. I know it worked out quite well in terms of what I was looking for and looking to create. I hope the people that have requested it are excited and want to see it and are hoping that it will do the job that they're asking for of them. I know I am, and I'm really happy to test it out in a save or try it out a bit myself on something where I can have a little more to do with it and then just actually buy the right players and make a big difference. But hope you guys did enjoy it. If you do want to see more tactics, we have a tactic playlist linked to the end of this video, as well as other tactics which are showing off that can be asked via request, or the tactics that have to do with our rebuilds that are coming out every Sunday. We have one for a Southampton tactic that we'll be using, which we're using for those guys in our rebuild that's coming out. We have one last week which was used with Sampdoria, which is a tactic test you guys can also check out for sure. If you do want to submit your own requests or see some other tactics that I'm just making on my own and spreading out to the world, feel free to join the Discord in the link below, where you guys can check in on there, see the tactics that I'm posting for myself. I can even rate your tactics, or you guys can ask for ones that I can make for you guys. So I hope you did enjoy today's video, and if you want to get involved more with the tactics and all that stuff like that, be sure to hit the notification bell so that you are notified when the next ones come out. And hopefully, I'll see you in those videos.